something I would never want to experience again. And it was just a pain that I've never felt before. I remember saying to the Lord, I said, Lord, this hurts. This hurts. This really hurts. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel, A Moment with Amisha. I am blessed to be back in front of you. A lot has transpired within the last 2 months, and I just want to bring you all up to speed before I actually dive into the video. But before I do, if you are brand spanking new here in this space on A Moment with Amisha, I do want to encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Click the bell notification while you're at it so you do not miss a video from me. All right, so as I'm sure you've read the title, I will be discussing the 5 things my miscarriage has taught me. What my miscarriage has taught me. Now, I know the title of this video may throw some of you off, especially since I previously announced that I was expecting. I made a whole pregnancy announcement, and then my husband and I, my husband Quentin, joined me in a video where we talked about our infertility journey. So just so you know, I don't want this video to be a sad video. I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I'm just going to give you an overview of what has happened and then kind of bring you up to speed about what I learned from this experience. I definitely want to encourage those women out there who have experienced miscarriages, no matter how long ago it was. We're always, the grieving process can be a very long process for, we're all different. So I definitely want this video to be an encouraging one. I want to bring you up to speed. So 2 months ago, it's so funny that today is the July 25th, so in 2 days it will be actually 2 months since this has happened. But in my previous video, the infertility testimony video, I think I was about either 11 or 12 weeks. And I want to say 12 weeks because really just days after that video, on Memorial Day, that following Monday, May 27th, was the day that I miscarried. It was on Memorial Day. Totally devastated, y'all. I did not expect this to happen. We did not expect this to happen. There were some things that I was dealing with my pregnancy, a few issues that I had going on, but I had complete and total faith that God was going to get me through that. Some other things developed, and what I was already dealing with, these new things coupled together just resulted in the miscarriage, if that makes sense. So, and I'm not going to get into much detail on that, but just know that we were devastated. We were incredibly disappointed. We did not see this happening. I did not think it would happen because I just knew that this was, I felt like this was something that God had, and even I still do believe that, the conception, us being able to conceive on that first child was definitely a miracle. But the end result was not something that we saw happening. So, but yeah, I just wanted to come back here with you all on this platform because of course I share the news of my pregnancy announcement, and then I did inform, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, then you might have already heard this news. But if you don't, and you more so watch my content here, I'm sure this is brand spanking new news to you. And so yeah, that is what has happened. So I want to do this video to encourage ladies out there, families out there who have experienced miscarriages. Just want to use this video to encourage you because there are a lot of things that this miscarriage has taught me. This was my very first miscarriage. I did, as I shared in another video, back in my 20s, I did experience losing a baby earlier on. This was outside of my marriage. It wasn't not out, let me say that back over. It was before I met my husband. This was a previous relationship in my early 20s. And I did lose a baby at 26 weeks. That baby was born alive, but later on passed away. And so this baby that I lost with my husband was 13. I was at 13 weeks, so half that time, which was pretty ironic. But yeah, so I've gone through this before, but in a different way. But y'all, when I tell you, this was different. This felt different to me. And I know because this was a child that I shared with my husband. This was a baby that we conceived together, and so it was, this felt different. It just felt really different. So number one, I just want to start off with this. The first thing that I feel like this miscarriage has taught me is that God still loves me, and I still love him. And I know a lot of times when we go through things like this, it's like, it's easy for us to like look at God like, how could you allow this to happen to me? Like, do you not love me? You know, it can really put us in a mindset to question God's love for us, and then our love for God, because it's like, I can't love you after you've done this. But what this miscarriage has taught me is that God still loves me, and I love him. And so, and what I mean by that is this. After I had the DNC, which is something that is a procedure that takes place where they have to basically clean your womb out and all the things, just to make sure there's no matter of the pregnancy still left within the woman. And so I remember being in my hospital room, and I remember this was right after the DNC. And y'all, even before I get too far in this story, I want to say that right after the DNC, it was revealed to me that my body was going into sepsis. Sepsis is when, like, your system, your whole body and blood can be poisoned because of an infection. It's basically like a really dangerous, deadly infection. I had no idea this was happening. I was just so in the zone of, I just lost my baby. I didn't even know that there was anything wrong with me. I knew I had a fever right after the miscarriage, but I had no idea my body was going into sepsis. So the fact that I did not know that, but God kept me through that. I survived it. Is such a miracle in my eyes, and I will forever be grateful for that. So that is something I just want to put out there, because I had no idea I was going through that. And to add to that, I remember being in my hospital room right after the DNC. I went to the restroom, and here I am rolling to the restroom with my IV and things, all the things attached to me. And I'm in the bathroom, using the bathroom, and I just lost it. I just wailed, cried, and I remember just crying and feeling extremely confused. And I remember just saying, Lord, I don't understand this, but I still love you. Lord, I still love you. I said that, y'all. I don't know what gave me the strength to say that, and I meant it, but I said out loud, I was speaking to the Lord. I said, Lord, I still love you. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Because it felt so surreal, and really kind of flashed me back to in my 20s, because it was just such a, it's, you know, the way they do things in the hospital is very, routine and strategic. I mean, it's all the same. And so I kind of had a flashback, but anywho, I just remember sitting there and just saying, Lord, I trust you. I had no idea why this happened, just disappointed, devastated, all the things. And so it was incredible strength that led me to say that. And so, I know that the word says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's Philippians 4:13. And in that moment, I just felt so strengthened enough to say that, God, I still love you. I still trust you. I don't know why this happened, but I still love you. And so that is what this miscarriage has taught me, is that it doesn't matter what I go through. I can't not love God, because he will forever love me. I can't not love God. I will always love him. And the fact that he saved my life, because I had no idea that I could have possibly died as well. And so I will forever be grateful for that. But that is what this miscarriage has taught me too, is that God still loves me. I didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't punishing me in any kind of way. And I just think that's important to remember too when going through something like this, is that God still loves you. He's not angry at you. You didn't disappoint him in any way. He's not trying to get back at you. You know, we just have to keep a mindset that, you know, understand who our Father is, and that his love is unconditional, right? So that's number one. The second thing that I want to say is, number two, what this miscarriage has taught me is, I am not above my afflictions. I am not above my afflictions. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes so I don't get all over the place. What I mean by that is, no matter how godly or saved you are not exempt from experiencing travails. That means you're not exempt from going through trials and tribulations. You're not exempt from grief, sorrow, hurt, anger. You don't get a free pass from it, because you belong to God, right? Psalm 34:19 says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I thought that nothing like this could happen to me, because it has happened before. But I think sometimes when things like this do happen, it serves as a reminder that we are all subject to afflictions. We are all, we can be afflicted. It doesn't matter that how much you pray, how much you fast, how much tithes you give, how holier than thou you see yourself. You are not exempt from going through trials and tribulations. In John 16:33, it says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. So that's another reminder that, you know, God didn't promise us an easy, grief-free life, stress-free life, right? He didn't promise us that. He said that we will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. And, you know, it doesn't make sense sometimes why things like this happens to us, but I'm not exempt from them. And so it's just a reminder. This happening to me has taught me to be mindful that you're not exempt from going through grief, sorrow, all the things, right? Even if you're watching this and you never had a miscarriage, but there's something else you're going through in your life and you're like, God, I don't deserve this. You know what? I serve on the usher board. I sing in the choir every Sunday. I don't deserve this. But you know, that's not really the case here. That doesn't matter. You know, what you're going through does matter to God. He cares very much, but it doesn't mean that you're exempt from it. And my personal opinion is, I think sometimes the Lord allows us to go through things, especially things like this, because He wants to develop our faith. And if we just would ever go through life without having anything to test our faith, we would think we wouldn't need God. I don't need the Lord because nothing ever happens to me. I'm always good. You know, I'm not saying that is the only reason why I feel like the Lord allows us to go through certain things, but I definitely feel like that's part of it, because we have to develop our faith. We have to know that no matter what happens to us, we still belong to the Lord. We still serve Him no matter what happens. And then that too, the Lord is always with us as well. He's always with us no matter what kind of things we go through. Moving on, number 3, I've learned that it's okay to not understand what God allows. It's okay to not understand what God allows. I think this can be so very challenging for people, for ladies and families dealing with grief and heartbreak and, you know, losing a child, losing a baby, having a miscarriage. It's just when you just don't understand why. And I totally get it, y'all. I'm telling you, when I came home from the hospital, I remember coming in my house, and I went straight to just kind of my bedroom to lay down, but I saw the comforter on my bed, what I was just laying in just like a day before, and experiencing, you know, the miscarriage and everything. And I snatched that thing off my bed. I didn't want to see anything to remind me of what just happened, because I was just so in such a dream state, and almost like, did this really just happen? Did I really just have a miscarriage? And I just didn't understand. I remember days after getting home, just like being in the bathroom and just wailing, y'all. I've never felt such, you know how sometimes you can have such an emotional upset. You're so upset emotionally that it hurts you, that it literally physically hurts you. And I remember just crying and wailing, and I've never heard myself even cry like that before, almost to the point where I couldn't even breathe. It was just like I was just letting it out. Because when you're in the hospital, you got everything, all the nurses, doctors, everything around you, you don't really have that moment. But when it was just me at home, it was something I would never want to experience again. And it was just a pain that I've never felt before. I remember saying to the Lord, I said, Lord, this hurts. This hurts. This really hurts. And I didn't understand. I was just so confused. I was like, God, why? Like, why? Like, you know, the struggle of us conceiving, and we conceived him, but why did you allow this to happen? Right? And an important thing I think to keep in mind is that I knew that God didn't let this happen. Like, he didn't cause it to happen, but he allowed it. He didn't cause it, but he allowed it. And what I mean by that is that, you know, he allowed us to conceive. And that was a blessing. But he also allowed this baby to, he didn't cause it, but he allowed the baby to pass away. And, you know, it's one of those things that you can just sit in and just like try to figure out, like, why did he do, but Proverbs, the word reminds us in Proverbs 3:5-6 that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your paths. And I had to remember that verse because I was at a crossroads where I could either just like, God, you're gonna have to tell me why you did this or why you allowed this to happen. Or I could say, you know what, I don't know, I don't understand, but Lord, I trust you. I chose that route because if you sit in you're gonna have to tell me I gotta figure this out type of thing, no telling where that road will lead you. But I want this path because God said he'll direct my path. So I'm gonna trust in him. I'm not gonna lean on my own understanding. God's ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. And you know, it is what it is. And so I chose to trust him. I'm reminded of the story of Job. I'm sure you all are familiar with that story where, you know, Job says in verse 13 and 15, and excuse me, Job chapter 13 verse 15, he says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job experienced so much loss, y'all, so much. Every time I read the story of Job, I'm just like, wow, you know, that verse is so powerful to me because it says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. It's such the highest form of faith there that Job is that Job is expressing. And I related to that so much because this was like, you know, God, I know that you didn't cause this, but you allowed it, and I don't understand it, but I trust you. And I think it's important when we don't understand to be just to be okay with letting go of trying to figure it out. God told us to not lean on our own understanding. Now, if he chooses to reveal it to me at a later time, then let that be. But right now, I'm at peace with, I don't understand it, but I trust you. And so let's not bury ourselves. If you go through something like this, don't bury yourself in the why. Don't bury yourself in the why. Instead, trust God, lean on him, and be free in that. Be free in that. There's peace in that. And then too, I know that, you know, Romans 8:28, we all know this verse, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose, you know. And that's hard. It's hard to hear stuff like that, especially when you're right in the midst of the loss. It's like, how is this going to work for my good, Lord? I thought this whole thing was working for my good. Like, how is you taking my child away from me going to work for my good? And that's another example of don't lean on your own understanding. That's something that you have to surrender to the Lord and trust him. A lot of times, I really think that getting through grief and things like this requires a relationship with the Lord. It's easy to have somebody to tell you, oh, you just gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. But if you don't have a relationship with someone, it's hard to have faith in that person, right? I'm reminded of a saying from a minister years ago. I used to. I remember just this saying of, you know, you wouldn't give a stranger your wallet. You don't have faith in them. You don't know them. You don't have a relationship with them. But if it's somebody that you hang out with every day, you're very cool with them, you don't mind them holding your wallet because you know them, you trust them. Hopefully you do. And so it's the same type of parallel with our Father. If you don't know our Heavenly Father, you don't know who he is to you, then you don't understand, you don't understand how faith is important to have when going through certain things like this. Now, was my faith rocked and a little shaken with this? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it wasn't. It was. I was like, God, what is happening? But I had to lean on his word because I know who God is. I know the things that he's brought me out of in the past. So it's just like, you're still the same, God. You have not changed. My circumstance has changed, but you're still the same. So I can't therefore switch up on you because of what I'm going through. You're still the same, right? So this is not, going through something like this is not the time to run away from God. If anything, it is the perfect opportunity to run to him, because this is something that, you know, God is close to the brokenhearted, right? So this is not the time to say, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, I'm not following you. No, because how else are you going to get through this, right? We may go, you know, God may, he may not always get rid of your storms, but he's going to get you through them, right? He's going to get you through your storms. So don't allow something like this to make you bitter towards him. I just feel like this is really important. I don't know who this is for, but don't allow going through a miscarriage, experiencing something like this, to make you bitter. I had plenty of opportunity to be bitter, to choose the path of, you're gonna have to tell me why this happened, I'm gonna figure out why this happened. I had all the opportunity to choose that path, but I know, according to what my Father says, his promises and his word, that is not the way to go, because my thoughts are not his thoughts, my ways are not his ways. I don't understand it, but he told me I don't have to understand, to lean not on my own understanding, but to acknowledge him, and he will direct my path. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm trusting in him with all my heart. And if, like I said, if he chooses to reveal to me why this happened, then that's fine. I'll listen and I'll take it. But I'm not going to become bitter. I refuse to become bitter. And and like I said in the very beginning of this video, is that while I was crying in that hospital bathroom, I said, Lord, I still love you. I still trust you. And that has not changed. I know that may be hard for people to understand, but it's the truth. So yeah, I'm going to move on from that. Number 4, the fourth thing that this miscarriage has taught me is how important community is to me. Community is so important in your healing journey, right? So many women, you guys, women that I've met over the internet, my sisters in Christ over the internet, women within my church community, family members, of course, my closest friends, reached out to me and expressed, you know, some of them shared testimonies of them going through miscarriages, which was so encouraging. Not that, you know, what they went through, but just the fact that they got through it and then they went on to have other children. So encouraging. Oh my goodness, so many. And I did not realize how, I mean, I've heard of women have miscarriages, but it was just, it's amazing how so many women go through something like this. It's devastating, but so many women go through this. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for those stories that were shared with me. I mean, just so many testimonies and stories, and so many people that I knew in my community that prayed for me. And I just, you know, going through something like this is, you know, you have your family and things. I know some women don't have any family, so I'm blessed to have my family, but then to have outside community, you guys, to just, I'm telling y'all, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. James 5:16, confess your trespasses to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effective, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. And I tell y'all, that is so true. Make sure you have a community of people who can pray. Make sure you have a community of people who can pray for you, not just somebody that always hyping you up. Make sure you have friends and outside community and people outside in your community that can pray for you. That is so important. And I'm so grateful to have had a community that loved me, and really, I mean, even weeks and months, even, well, 2 months later, still have people checking up on me. Y'all, that matters. That thing matters, and it helps you to continue to heal and grow. I just cannot tell you how many messages and texts and voicemails of people, women just sharing their stories with me and just encouraging me, because they know how hard this is, right? And so I just want to say that community is so important. So don't forsake community. Don't be like, I don't want nobody to bother me. No, let them bother you in encouraging you, right? You know, allow the right people into your space, of course. But community is so important, because the prayers of a righteous man avails much. It reaches the Father. And y'all, when I tell you I was supernaturally strengthened, I remember telling my husband, like, I feel like some people may think, you know, they may look at me strangely because I don't look sad, or I'm not like grieving heavily. And like I said, I had my moments, but I know the Lord heard my cry, and he gave me such a supernatural peace that when people see me, they're like, oh, you know, I know I shocked them because I didn't look like I looked as if I didn't have a weight on me. And I didn't, because I knew that God got me. I knew he had me, because I remember crying out and telling myself, Lord, you're going to have to help me with this. You're going to have to help me with this, because I can't do this in my own strength. And I know I felt his strength with me. I felt the prayers of my community. I felt the prayers. I'm telling you, I'm not just saying that. I really felt it. And so community is so important. I just want to put that out there. All right, guys. And my last thing, because I know this video is getting kind of long. So if you made it this far, God bless you. The last thing I wanted to say is that this miscarriage has taught me that God wastes nothing. Not even pain. God wastes nothing. John chapter 6 verse 12 says, when they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. Right? And this, you know, comes from the story of God feeding the multitude with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, right? So that just reminded me that God literally wastes nothing. It's a perfect example of how God cares about everything. He notices everything. And, you know, there's nothing that escapes his eyes. So me going through something like this is not wasted. He's going to work it together for my good, right? Romans 8:28. He's going to work it all together for my good, more in such a beautiful way that in such a beautiful way that I couldn't even fathom, right? I don't know what that is. I don't know what it looks like, but I trust that he's going to do that because that's what his word says. And so we have to have peace and believe that God collects the broken pieces of our hearts, and he's going to put them back together to form something even more beautiful. And I know it's hard. You know, I'm not sitting here saying that I still don't have days where I just think back on, man, wow, you know, I would be halfway through my pregnancy by now. You know, I would at this moment be thinking about what I want my baby shower to look like. I'm not saying to you that I don't have days where I think back on where I would be if I was still pregnant, right? But I know that God wastes nothing. Not even this. Not even my pain, not even this whole situation, not even all the money and effort we put into conceiving with the IUI. That is not wasted. That is not wasted. And I know that God is going to redeem. He's going to restore the years. He's going to redeem this time, right? I know that. And I still believe what he said to me. I think I said it in my other video about how I felt like God was going to redeem that March the 10th date. I don't know how, but I still believe he's going to do something wonderful in my life again, right? So that's all I have to share with you all. I just want to encourage whoever's watching this, you know, now that I've gone through it myself, I feel you. I know where you are. I know the hurt. I know the hurt. I know the pain. I know the emotional hurt that feels like physical hurt, physical pain in your body. I know it. I get it. I am there with you. But I'm also here to tell you that you do not have to stay in a pit. You can get up and out of it, but you need to trust in the Lord. You need to have faith in him. You don't need to doubt him. He loves you. His feelings towards you has not changed. You did not do anything wrong. This is not all your fault. No, not at all. Don't even allow the enemy to get in your head to make you feel like this was all your fault. It's not your fault. God sees you. He hears you. He wants to bless you. His promises are still good. They're still yes and amen, right? So let this season in your life, let this strengthen your faith. Allow it to strengthen your faith. Allow it to push you towards the Father, not away. Allow it to push you into his presence so that he can perfect what it is that he's called you to do and be and become, right? So I just want to leave you with that God is with you. He's never going to leave you. He loves you, right? Thank you guys so much. I do pray that you leave comments down below. You like this video, share it with someone you think who could really benefit from the words in this video. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm praying for all of you out here who are you mamas or mamas to be who have gone through this. My heart is with you. God bless you, and thank you for spending a moment with Amisha. Bye.